There is a moment in 2 Kings chapter 6 that most Christians read too fast. The prophet Elisha is in the city of Dothan. The king of Aram has surrounded the city with horses and chariots and a great army to capture him. Elisha's servant wakes up that morning, steps outside and sees the army, and the servant panics. He runs back inside crying, "Oh my Lord, what shall we do?" But Elisha does not panic. Watch what he says next. "Do not be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." The servant must have looked at him like he was crazy, because the servant could count. He saw the army on the hillside. He saw the two of them in the house. The math was obvious. They were outnumbered. They were going to die. Then Elisha prays one sentence, "Lord, open his eyes that he may see." And scripture says the servant looked again, and the hills around Dothan were full of horses and chariots of fire. The servant had been counting wrong his entire life. He thought he was one. He had always been many. The second figure had been there the whole time. He just did not have eyes to see it. That is the spiritual condition of most Christians watching this video right now. You have been counting yourself as one, walking through your battles as one, carrying the weight as one, and it has been crushing you because the math was never meant to work that way. Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 9. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. Solomon was not writing wedding poetry. He was writing the same survival principle the servant in Dothan finally saw with his own eyes. And in the next few minutes, I am going to walk you through 7 places where the second figure has been missing from your life. Places God himself has been waiting to be seen. Including the 7th, which will reframe everything you thought you knew about being alone. Stay here, because by the end of this video, your eyes are going to open. Solomon gave more than one reason in that passage. Read Ecclesiastes 4 verses 9 through 12 carefully. He said 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. Because if one falls, the other lifts him up. Because 2 lying down together keep warm. Because 2 can defend themselves where one would be overpowered. And then he closes with this: a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. That is not one principle. That is 5 truths stacked on top of each other. And those 5 truths show up in 7 places in your life right now. In your marriage, in your friendships, in your business, and how you raise your children, in the team you are leading, in the partnership you're about to walk into. And in one place almost no Christian recognizes until it is named for them. Most of you have been losing in every single one of these places. Not because you sinned, not because God forgot you, but because you have been counting yourself as one, when God designed every one of those rooms to be carried by 2. So here are the 7 places where the second figure has been missing from your life, and what God said about every single one. Point 1. 2 people do not add their strength, they multiply it tenfold. This is the foundation. If you do not understand this, nothing else in this video will land. Ecclesiastes 4 verse 9. Solomon said 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. The Hebrew word for good return is sakar. Wages, increase, reward. Solomon was a businessman before he was a preacher. He knew the mathematics of partnership was not addition. It was multiplication. And here's the verse that proves it. Deuteronomy 32 verse 30. Moses asks a question on behalf of God. How could one man chase 1,000 or 2 put 10,000 to flight? Stop and read that again. 1 chases 1,000. 2 chase 10,000, not 2,000, not 3,000, 10,000. The output multiplied by 10 the moment a second person came into agreement. That is not sweat. That is supernatural math. Leviticus 26 verse 8 says the same thing in a different setting. 5 of you will chase 100 and 100 of you will chase 10,000. 5 chasing 100 is 1 to 20, but 100 chasing 10,000 is 1 to 100. The ratio jumped 5 times, just because the right people came into the same fight. Every time you have tried to build something alone, a business, a ministry, a household, a vision, and felt like you were swinging twice as hard for half the result. This is why. You are not designed to operate at 1. The blueprint of God multiplies what he puts in agreement. This is why a husband and wife pulling the same direction outproduce 2 separate single people working twice as hard. This is why a leader with a real team produces more than 10 leaders without one. This is why a child raised by two engaged parents in agreement is harder to break than a child raised by one parent doing everything. The math was never addition. It never was. Two are not better than one, because two is more than one. Two are better than one because two does what one cannot. One adds, two multiply. And every battle you have been losing alone is not too big. You've just been counting wrong. Point 2. Loneliness was the first thing God called not good before sin ever entered the world. This one is for the husbands. And the wives, listen carefully. Genesis chapter 2 verse 18. Adam was in paradise, unbroken communion with God himself, walked with God in the cool of the day, no sin, no shame, no struggle. And God looked at that man and said, "It is not good for the man to be alone." Read that again. Loneliness is the only thing God called not good before the fall, before sin, before the curse, before anything broke. Even with God's full presence, Adam still needed someone to walk with him. So when God brought Eve, he was not handing Adam a household manager. He was not giving him a roommate. He was completing the math. Proverbs 18 verse 22, "He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord." That word good is the same word God used in Eden the moment something was finally not good anymore. Now look at what most Christian marriages have become. Two people sharing a calendar, sharing bills, sharing a bed, working two separate callings under one roof, coordinating schedules instead of building a kingdom. That is not biblical marriage. That is roommates with a marriage license. Here is what biblical marriage looks like. Aquila and Priscilla. They appear 6 times in the New Testament. They are never mentioned separately. Acts 18. They discipled Apollos together. Romans 16. They hosted a church together. They partnered with Paul together.